how it gets implemented in the unique land of Jammu and Kashmir. In the brief presentation that we are going to bring before you, we're going to unfold a reflection of some of the milestones of this journey, the challenges inherent, some concrete outcomes which demonstrate the efficacy of our effort, the innovative strategies that we adopted, which led to very quantifiable outcomes, which we defined as successful outcomes in terms of not just augmenting revenue, but also improving the tax compliance behavior as a whole in the society. And since all this has been a teamwork, team effort, even in this presentation, we want to bring in the voices from the vital members of our team. So I hand over to Additional Commissioner Shri Shakil from Kashmir, who is going to join from Srinagar. Over to you.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Shakil Maqbool, Additional Commissioner Kashmir. So the tax journey, the GST journey has been an eventful one. It started, interestingly, 1 week later than the rest of the country, because at the time, Jammu and Kashmir had a special status, and due to Article 370, any amendment, constitutional amendment that was done had to be, there had to be consent from the state side. So there was a deliberation, and it was decided that GST, being a robust technology platform at the time, which will increase the tax base substantially, and it will lead to a progressive increase in revenue and ease of doing business, and it will also in the long run lead to a better compliance behavior and a substantial increase in revenue eventually. Based on this, the then government of J&K, the state government, gave its consent, and the journey started a week later, but the ideal of one nation, one tax was achieved. So we had many challenges which were unique to Jammu and Kashmir compared to rest of the country. For example, we are aware that this is a Himalayan state. The topography is difficult. The geography is such that there are very remote areas which do not have access to the kind of IT infrastructure which is needed for a system like GST. So these all challenges we have taken up, and we have fought against these challenges, be it the connectivity issues, be it the human resources capacity which needed to be upgraded, or for the last but not least, the lack of awareness on the ground, especially given that there was an information asymmetry between the people living in urban areas, the people living in remote areas, the people living in areas like LOC near the international border. So there was also this question of the trust deficit due to a historical memory kind of that has existed between the citizens and the state here. We had these challenges, and it was by overcoming these challenges that we could actually realize that ideal of one nation and one tax and lead to a substantial increase in the revenues. So these are the challenges that we have fought, and we have done well against. With this, I will pass on the baton back to ma'am to dwell on how we have achieved things beyond this challenge.
But ultimately, the test lies in how we quantify the success. So over to Namrata, the Additional Commissioner from Jammu Division, who will talk about, what were the outcomes in concrete terms.
Thank you, ma'am. My colleague has highlighted the challenges faced by J&K in implementation of the One Tax, One Nation reform. Despite challenges, State Tax Department, through its concerted efforts and analytic strategies, have been able to achieve an upward trajectory in terms of revenue collection. If we look at the average monthly revenue collection from the base year 2017-18, when GST was implemented, from 300 crore, J&K has jumped to 605 crore in 22-23, ending December only, which is nearly double in 5 years. So in terms of total revenue collection, that includes all the cash collection, if we see from April to December 22, J&K has been growing at the rate of 20%, which is a very good sign. From 4,600 crore only ending March 22, this year, if we see from April to December 22, we have been able to reach more than 5,000 crore in terms of cash collection in SGST and IGST. In overall GST collection also, if we see for the figures for December 22 only, J&K has registered a growth of 28%, which is almost double to that of the national average of 15%. Again, if I compare J&K with our neighboring states in terms of the cash collection growth of GST, J&K figures at number 1 position. So despite challenges and initial setbacks, GST collection in J&K is increasing steadily, and in some cases, we are leading in the country.
Thank you. And from Jammu, now I go again back to Srinagar, from where Mr. Wasim, the Assistant Commissioner Technical, will tell us more reflections about the outcomes, revenue, and otherwise also in terms of tax compliance behavior.
Thank you very much, ma'am. As already elaborated by our seniors as well, the significance of GST implementation in case of Jammu and Kashmir was altogether, a challenge in itself because of the Article 370 prior to its abrogation. Because GST was the only, J&K was the only state at that point in time wherein service tax was levied by the state itself. So revenue collection in terms of service tax collections was something which state agreed to forego in lieu of GST implementation. So challenges in terms of GST implementation in J&K was it came up with some high expectations. And at this point in time, at least we can say that the decision taken by the government is well taken, and we are heading towards the right approach. And the decision was, in agreement of what was presumed at that point in time. Considering our tax base at that point in time, we had only 70,000 of taxpayers now, which has risen up to 1,32,000 at this point in time. In 5 years time period, we have nearly doubled our tax base, and it has been reflected in revenue collections as well. Last slide clearly indicated that from 300 crores in 2017 and 18, our monthly average revenues has risen up to 605 crores in this current financial year. Similarly, it can be seen that the incidence and efficiency so far as tax collections and its contribution towards GDP is concerned, it has significantly increased from 6 points average to 8 points in terms of contribution of tax in GDP. This is the GDP which the tax is being contributed at the state level. Now, post GST implementation, our tax base is halved. Half of it is being taken by the center. So not only contribution towards state GDP, we are also equally contributing towards the national GDP, and contribution is quite significant and being appreciated at the highest levels. Similar is the case with the return filing. It has been significantly improved despite several challenges post abrogation of 370, then COVID, and then problems related to connectivity issues in the rural areas. We have been able to achieve our return filing percentage from 85 to 97. As on date, our return filing is topmost in the country. And same is the revenue collections. If you can see the graph in terms of revenue trends for the last 10 years, it has been significantly improved. And this contribution has, made us feel proud that we are contributing not only for our union territory, but we are also directly contributing for the national building. And in terms of the, a sort of goal which is being laid out in the budget 2022 and 23, that we will move towards our vision for 2047, and we are heading towards.
Yeah. So thank you, Wasim. And with this, I now go to the strategies that could be adopted, which particularly has led to a very quantum jump, which was very visible in the last slide, seen over last 1 year, especially this financial year. So over to Ms. Ankita, who is the Additional Commissioner Tax Planning, to talk about the strategies.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Very good afternoon, everyone. The previous slides have talked about our achievements, but how we manage to achieve those achievements is the point that I'm going to talk about. The Department of State Taxes Department has taken a multi-pronged approach. It has taken up policy initiatives like advanced ruling, It has taken up statutory obligations like audit exercise. However, there's one thing that we have actually tried to do, which might be our innovation in a way, that is to set up our own special investigation unit for creating homegrown intelligence inputs for the purpose of catching big tax evasion cases, which I believe is also something that the government of India has been focusing on. The other thing that we have done is try to bring a systemic coherence between the different stakeholders through the creation of zonal convergence forum, which has brought together all the locational officers of the department together in one forum. Further, what we have tried to do is to bring about a coordination platform with the CGST officials who are our counterpart in the center government, and we have a regular mechanism of discussing strategies with them. And the final point that has led to this coherence of approach is the automation of the department and the fact that we have a very good data analytics cell which utilizes all the IT tools that the GST has been giving us. With that, ma'am, the strategies that we have adopted has gone a long way. I pass on the baton to the next speaker.
So, Ms. Namrata, the Additional Commissioner, who has been particularly interested in the IC and the ease of doing business, would just reflect on that further.
Now, continuing with the strategies adopted by JNK in augmenting the revenue, the focus has been on massive outreach to stakeholders and ensuring tax compliance behavior. Now, for this, our department, State Taxes Department, is running a concerted IEC campaign on a regular basis. Now, under this, the taxpayers are being updated about various latest developments in the GST Act through our social media handles and a dedicated website. Like we have a round-the-year calendar, which is being followed of awareness camps and training programs to augment the effort of the Department of Tax Compliance from the stakeholders. For example, when e-way bills scheme was rolled out, it was a concerted campaign to reach out to the transporters. Now we are running round-the-year campaign in which our drawing and disbursing officers are being informed about tax filing of returns and other statutory compliances. Now, again, very linked to it is that how we are doing ease of doing business. Now, for seamless GST compliance, ease of doing business is being ensured through a concerted effort of setting up GST Suvidha Kendra. We have a GST Suvidha Kendra in all the far-flung districts across JNK, and all the districts, 20 districts have been covered, where we are giving hand-holding support to our taxpayers in registration, return filing, and other statutory compliances. Again, advanced ruling mechanism, SGST, CGST coordination is ensured. And the purpose here is that tax compliance mechanism becomes pro-people, and at their doorstep, it should be available to them.
Sorry to interrupt you, ma'am. You have a 2 minute more. Please continue.
Okay, so now is to sum it up all, to see and to view something is to believe it even more. So these are some of the pictorial glimpses which bring our foot soldiers in uniform, marching in unison. You know, I've seen in the recently done passing out parade meant for the SI, sub-inspectors, how a canteen itself gets activated for the employees for a feel-good factor and their convenience. How the outreach sessions are carried on in remote locations like Rajouri, Doda, Poonch, Baramulla, Anantnag, Shipyard. So with all this, we are confident that we are poised to create even more milestone. Wishing you all a very, very happy new year 2023 to the jury members and others who are organizing the SKOCH Award. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. You have proved it with figures, with pictures that you have done a commendable job. All the appreciation. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Ma'am, when we start improvising something, then the problems also start coming up. So what is the grievance mechanism which was set up, which is unique or something different from rest of the states?
Right, I'll take that. So, for the grievance redressal, we work at two levels. One is at the headquarter level. At the headquarter level, we have a mechanism by which the senior officers are in a grievance redressal committee, where even the CGST, they are a part of that committee. So, because as per the Act, many of the taxpayers are to be administered by the CGST, some by the state authorities, but ultimately we feel that the ownership lies with the state, for each and every dealer over here. So we have been taking up their, grievances with the CGST authorities also, besides those at the policy level, where we as a department can articulate it further, advocate it further. However, at a more decentralized level, at the grassroots level, the Suvidha Kendra, the facilitation centers that have been spoken about, there we have, a mechanism by way of which the queries can be resolved, the grievances can be, to the extent possible, sorted out, at through the face-to-face interaction or through calls. So there's a dedicated phone number given for the, help desk, which if cannot be solved at the circle level, we have nodal officers who sit in the headquarter. So there are certain technical, grievances like our returns not completely getting reflected, the amount not getting reflected. So these are sorted out at the technical level also. If we have to take it up with the GSTN, that is done, rather than leaving it for the dealer to take it up with the GSTN at the back end. Thank you.
All the best, ma'am. Happy New Year to you.
Thank
and
you.
your team.
Thank you. Thank you. All the best. And a great year ahead to all of you. Thank you.